Now, here's a spoiler alert to those who might be tempted to think this is a conspiracy theory. Weather modification and weather warfare is real. Not only do government agencies involve themselves in it, they practice it daily, are in the process of perfecting it, and even admit to it in their own documents and publications. So for us to look at Dorian or really any weather pattern and not at least legitimately wonder what the government has to do with this particular weather event is to literally put our heads in the sand. In late 1967, there was a covert operation called Project Popeye, which Tricky Dick Nixon officially denied existed. And the official proposal for that project reads, "The Department of Defense has requested our approval to initiate the operational phase of Project Popeye in selected areas along the infiltration routes in North Vietnam and southern Laos." The object of the program is to produce sufficient rainfall along these lines of communication to interdict or at least interfere with truck traffic between North and South Vietnam. Recently improved, this is back then guys, cloud seeding techniques would be applied on a sustained basis in a non-publicized effort to induce continued rainfall through the months of the normal dry season. Basically, using their techniques, they extended the monsoon season through this plan. We can also read the 1996 document called Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025. They don't even hide it. They admit that their objective is to own the weather. Here, let's just read what they have to say in their abstract. Remember, these are their words, not the words of some half-baked conspiratorial YouTuber. In 2025, U.S. aerospace forces can own the weather by capitalizing on emerging technologies and focusing development of those technologies to war-fighting applications. Such a capability offers the warfighter tools to shape the battle space in ways never before possible. Shape the battle space. I wonder what the people of the Bahamas think about their living space being shaped by the weather event known as Dorian. It provides opportunities to impact operations across the full spectrum of conflict and is pertinent to all possible futures. The purpose of this paper is to outline a strategy for the use of a future weather modification system to achieve military objectives rather than to provide a detailed technical roadmap. As in all projects, it's useful to conduct practice runs so that they can hone their battle-shaping desires. Like maybe bringing in monster storms from the ocean? A high-risk, high-reward endeavor, weather modification offers a dilemma not unlike the splitting of the atom. While some segments of society will always be reluctant to examine controversial issues such as weather modification, the tremendous military capabilities that could result from this field are ignored at our own peril. That's one of those necessity is the plea for every infringement of human freedoms. It's the argument of tyrants. It's the creed of slaves. And these tyrants argue that we can't ignore the tremendous military capabilities that could benefit us. You can almost see the psychopath as he sits there at his desk typing this out in wild-eyed anticipation of wreaking maximum havoc on unsuspecting people as he dreams of playing God with the weather. Now check out this little sliver of psychopathy. From enhancing friendly operations or disrupting those of the enemy via small-scale tailoring of natural weather patterns to complete dominance of global communications and counter space control, weather modification offers the warfighter a wide range of possible options to defeat or coerce an adversary. Using weather to defeat or coerce an adversary. Think about this, guys. How much destruction have these massive storms brought to America? How many Americans have lost everything? Think about the trillions doled out and the lives lost as the weather gods conduct their global lab test in their pursuit of complete dominance. Don't think for a second that the military didn't have something to do with all these storms. Some of the potential capabilities a weather modification system could provide to a warfighting commander-in-chief are listed in Table 1. Technology advancements in 5 major areas are necessary for an integrated weather modification capability. Number 1, advanced nonlinear modeling techniques. Number 2, computational capability. Number 3, information gathering and transmission. Number 4, a global sensor array. And number 5, weather intervention techniques. Some intervention tools exist today, and others may be developed and refined in the future. Seems like that was just thrown in there as a smokescreen for what really does exist today. Given just this Department of Defense document, a couple questions race to the top. Are they causing these destructive storms? Who are the ones responsible if they did? These are the people who wrote this document in 1996, but who else is there? Who's involved in this? How about this question? Key bono. Who benefits? No longer can these people be allowed to hide behind a veil of anonymity as they play God with the weather. Here's another question. If they do possess weather intervention techniques, as they allude to in this paper, Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025, then why aren't they applying those techniques to storms like Dorian here? Why didn't they do anything about Katrina or Michael or Hugo? And what the heck are they really doing when they send reconnaissance planes into the eyes of these hurricanes? Before I end this video, let me just read from page 1. And if you want to read the rest of this 52-page weather control and manipulation admission by our government, I'll leave the link in the description for you. Therefore, our weather support element, which is part of the Commander-in-Chief's Air Operations Center, is tasked to forecast storm paths and trigger or intensify thunderstorm cells over critical target areas that the enemy must defend with their aircraft. Since our aircraft in 2025 have all-weather capability, the thunderstorm threat is minimal to our forces, and we can effectively and decisively control the sky over the target. They admit that they have this technology, and they've had technology like this for a long time. They admit to the effective and decisive control of the weather. So why aren't they stopping these storms? And more importantly, have they started these storms? The question is, when will we wake up and sniff the smelling salts of reality? Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the Google Thought Police in the comments section below.
Hurricane Dorian, doing something hurricanes rarely if ever do, is completely stalled now for a full day over the Bahamas. Look at the radar, essentially just spinning in place as the storm completely flattens parts of the Bahamas. In the words of the National Hurricane Center, Dorian simply won't budge.
Are in a global drumbeat right at the moment, talking about climate change and global warming. One of the things that is affected by climate change is agriculture. But some of what we are seeing is man-made, but man-made in a different way than you may guess. Weather modification programs, experimental ones done by private companies, done by the United States government, done by states across the United States, are underway. There's more than 50 of them in operation across the United States. All of these impact agriculture because they change the microclimates needed for agriculture to survive. None of these programs that I know of today, and this is all public record, are available at any time with oversight, agricultural oversight or public oversight. These programs impact agriculture, and there are programs around the world. International corporations are modifying our weather all the time, and they're modifying it in ways that cover thousands and thousands of square miles. Most of it is chemically altered, so that what happens is that we are putting chemicals, ground-based chemicals that are shot into the air, or chemicals coming from airplanes that change and modify our weather.
Well, the Joint Chiefs of Staff had been wishing for quite some time, in terms of years, that they had some way of slowing the trucks down in Vietnam. That led me to advise the Joint Chiefs of Staff that we had a potential weapon system, and so I was asked to start to put together a top secret operation to go to Vietnam to see if we couldn't make it rain more over there as a military operation. All the roads over there were dirt roads, and when it rained, it caused them a lot of problems. So that during the monsoon season, there was so much rain and water in the roads that the trucks really couldn't move very freely. Our mission was to make it rain during the dry season. On that particular day, the clouds were very small. There just weren't any real big thunderstorms or anything like that. But I picked a cloud that was sitting out essentially by itself with a number of small clouds. I'm talking about clouds whose tops were somewhere near the freezing level, but not high enough to really grow. And I nurtured one of those clouds until it finally got it in well past the freezing level. And then the cloud developed a lot of convective activity, and it started sucking clouds into it, just building up and building up. And I took a series of pictures I called for 41 minutes. By the end of 41 minutes, we had flown up to over 65,000 feet, and we still couldn't reach the top of the cloud. So we knew we had a barn burner there. And by the next morning, we had washed out everything in the world and did a lot of damage to people and all that sort of thing. But it was a real success as far as blocking the roads off. With just two of us involved, myself and a civilian, but we conducted that operation with aircraft, military aircraft, mostly from Marine Corps, and then shortly thereafter we started involving the U.S. Air Force. Well, we actually began the 3rd or 4th of September, and by the 13th of October, we had a couple of storms that had actually washed out bridges, and the results were so successful until I was called down to Saigon to brief the generals, the Air Force generals, and Army generals down there, and they suggested that I need to go make this report to President Johnson back in Washington, D.C. They were excited about it, but they had no authorization, if you will, to use this as a military weapon system. I was there in very top secret classification as a research project. That's the way we were able to conduct the mission without the international community, if you will, being apprised of what we were doing and how we were doing it. It was kept top secret for a long time. It was first reported that this was going on in 1972. That's the first time the Congress ever heard about it. So as you can see, it was not something everyone knew about for a long time.